The way we live in North America, both the US and Canada, is far from normal. I can't pinpoint the exact moment it became obvious to me, but after living abroad for over a year, it's clear something's fundamentally broken. When I share this sort of observation, most people nod along like they've already felt it in their gut. And you know what? They're probably right. I'm Canadian born and raised, and I'm currently living in Belize. It's been a huge shift, but it's given me the chance to see how other parts of the world live and how they live better. One of the biggest eye openers has been how differently people approach work and retirement outside of North America. In the US and Canada, we treat overworking like a badge of honor. The grind never stops, 50 or even 60 plus hours a week, often more if you're juggling side hustles or second jobs. People are working well into their 60s and 70s just to stay afloat, and they still haven't paid off their mortgages. But in other countries like Germany or the Netherlands, balance is completely different. They have shorter work weeks, more paid vacation time, and they actually enjoy their golden years. And you know what? They're healthier for it. Here in Belize, I've noticed that people value time with family and community over the constant hustle. And when we spent a month in Costa Rica, it was obvious how much happier and more content people were. They're not obsessed with squeezing every last drop of productivity out of life. They're focused on actually living. And here's the thing about that hustle mentality in North America. It often comes with chasing status symbols like bigger houses or nicer cars. But let's be honest here, those things come with strings attached, right? Higher expenses, higher insurance, more gas, more maintenance, you name it. Bigger isn't better, it's just a weird flex. To each their own, but what's the point of working yourself into the ground if you're stuck with bills and stress instead of freedom and happiness? Please hear me when I say burnout is not normal. Feeling numb, exhausted, or constantly on edge isn't just part of working, it's a sign that something needs to change. Your health, happiness, and sanity are totally worth more than a paycheck. Let's talk about healthcare. One of the biggest shocks I've had while living abroad is how differently the rest of the world handles it. In Canada, we're lucky to have universal healthcare. It's not perfect, but at least you don't go bankrupt just because you broke your arm or needed surgery. Or maybe you had twins or needed a C-section, right? Something normal. And yet the loudest complainers about Canada's healthcare system always seem to be Americans. Funny, right? They've never used it, but they've got plenty to say about it. Here's the reality. Healthcare in the US is outrageously expensive. People there think it's normal to launch GoFundMe campaigns just to cover medical bills. Meanwhile, in other parts of the world, people are getting high quality care for a fraction of the cost. Even here in Belize, you can see a doctor or a dentist without draining your savings. Mexico, too, has become a massive hotspot for medical tourism, with millions of Americans heading there each year for affordable procedures, medications, or other things that they couldn't afford back home. And when we spent time in Costa Rica, I met Americans who had dental work and surgeries done for like a tenth of the cost of what it would have been back home, and they were thrilled with the results. It's also why they have actual blue zones in Costa Rica, which are areas where people actually live significantly longer than other places in the world. It's kind of crazy. The problem in North America is that we've been brainwashed into thinking we have the best healthcare system, even if it's financially crushing. What's worse is the lack of focus on prevention. It's all about treating the symptoms instead of addressing the root cause. And let's not forget the insane pressure on the doctors to churn through as many patients as possible, just to meet quotas or satisfy insurance companies. At the end of the day, it's all about the almighty dollar and not about the people. 3 is consumerism, the endless cycle of stuff. Living abroad has really opened my eyes as to how much we overconsume in North America. In Canada and the US, it's all about quantity over quality. Buying disposable, cheap things instead of investing in newer, better made things. It's almost like we've been conditioned to believe that having more stuff equals more success. And let's be real on this, a lot of it comes from constant advertising telling us we need to upgrade to the latest, greatest version of everything, right? An example that always gets me is that plastic bags are banned or discouraged in most stores, but half the shelves are packed with products that are wrapped in all kinds of plastic. How does that even make sense? It's not about sustainability at all, it's just about profit. And the same goes for the cases and cases of bottled water we see everywhere. Instead of encouraging reusable alternatives, it feels like companies are just cashing in on a never-ending cycle of waste. And we see the consequences of this waste firsthand. Here in Belize, so much plastic washes up on the shores, it's heartbreaking. My wife Stacy joined a small group of island residents who do regular beach cleanups, and the trash comes from all over the Caribbean and even southern US, carried here by ocean currents. Talking like plastic bottles, straws, packaging, cheap flip-flops, you name it. It's a constant reminder of how unsustainable our habits have become and what we're doing to the planet. One thing I've noticed though is that downsizing and minimalism are becoming more and more popular, especially among Gen Xers like myself and even some people a little older. And after living down here, I totally get it. Smaller, simpler lifestyles mean less clutter and less stress. You don't have to own a lot of stuff to be happy, but back home, so many people, especially baby boomers, are still hanging on to all the things that they've accumulated over all the years. From outdated furniture, shelves full of knickknacks or some kind of collectibles, to like boxes and chests full of photo albums. And for what? At some point, it's not about impressing anyone, it's about finding freedom. Less really is more. Number four is housing and livability. One of the biggest differences I've noticed since living abroad is how much we prioritize size in North America. Bigger houses, bigger cars, bigger everything. But let's be real here. With the bigger house comes bigger expenses. Higher utility bills, higher land taxes, higher insurance, and higher maintenance. It's like we've been sold this idea that a massive home is a sign of success, but all it really does is tie you to more debt and stress. Bigger isn't better. It's just a weird flex. In Europe and many parts of Asia, people live in smaller, more efficient homes. It's just the norm. It's a cultural norm, but it's also just practical. Less space means less to clean, less to heat, less to cool, less to fill with unnecessary junk. Here in Belize, for example, most homes are modest in size, and I've realized just how freeing that is. You can spend less time worrying about stuff and more time actually living your life, especially when you live outside of your house. Even in North America, I've noticed a shift, especially among people my age and older. Downsizing is becoming more and more common, and not just for financial reasons. People are waking up to the fact that they don't need huge homes to be happy or to prove that they accomplished something. I see this trend down here in Belize too. People are choosing simpler, more affordable lifestyles, even the immigrants and expats from other countries. Why be house poor when you could have financial freedom and spend your time doing what you love, right? Another major difference I've noticed since moving down here to Belize is the sense of community. Back in North America, we've become so isolated. Suburbs are designed around cars, not people. Neighbors barely know each other, and we rely so much on our vehicles that it's hard to feel truly connected to the people around us. I experienced this firsthand when I went back to Ontario a little over a month ago. Don't get me wrong, it was amazing to see friends and family again, and of course hug all the people that I hadn't seen in over a year, but there were some serious downsides too. Driving away from the airport to head to my sister's place immediately gave me this weird mix of stress and depression. It sucked. The highways were packed with people who looked angry and rushed. Everyone was hurrying up to go nowhere. On top of that, everything was dead and gloomy, right? November in Canada, especially compared to the bright, lively scenery we kind of got used to down here. Over those 2 weeks, I stayed at 6 different houses, and it really hit me how much we rely on vehicles up there to get anywhere in North America. Here in Belize, I haven't owned a truck in over a year. The biggest thing I've driven is a golf cart so far, and I've gotten used to walking everywhere. I mean, that shift has been life-changing. I dropped 32 pounds just from walking around regularly. If you look at some of my videos from last year, you'll see it in my face. Not having a car has been a blessing in disguise. It's simplified my life and improved my health. And obviously the air is so much cleaner too, right? When we spent time in Costa Rica, we realized how much people value community and connection. Belize is the same. People stop to chat, share meals, help each other out in ways that feel genuine and organic. In North America, it feels like we've lost this. It'd be cool to see, I don't know, more walkable communities, like places where you can grab groceries or meet a friend for coffee without jumping into a car. It's better for your health and your soul. Number six, maybe the US and Canada aren't the best places to live after all. After living abroad and spending time in places like Belize and Costa Rica, I started to question a lot about life in North America. We're taught to believe that countries like the US and Canada are the best places to live. But are they really? Sure, there are lots of things to love. Friends, family, familiarity of home, but at what cost, right? The endless grind, the consumerism, the health crisis, the reliance on cars, the stress, it all adds up. In Belize, life is far from perfect. Internet can be unreliable and hurricane season is no joke. But even with those challenges, I wouldn't trade it for the 6 months of freezing rain and gray skies I left behind in Ontario. Living here has given me perspective about what truly matters, what we really need to be happy, and how little of it comes from stuff or status. It's the simple things: community, connection, health, and time. I'm not saying everyone should pack up and move abroad, but I do think we need to rethink the way we live in North America. Maybe the US or even Canada aren't the gold standards we've been led to believe. There's a whole world out there where people live with less stress, more joy, greater health, and more actual freedom. Don't get me started on freedom. Maybe it's time we start paying attention, right? Thanks for watching and following along on this journey. Maybe it's time we all start questioning what really matters. See you in the next one.